listening to Branded Sanderfans with Ben and Sam. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, with my best friend, Sam. How's it going, Sam?
It's going pretty good. Just so everybody knows, I might be talking a little quieter than normal. I'm actually in my closet recording this because my 7-month-old is sleeping in our room where I normally record, and Laura's watching The Voice, and he'd wake up with The Voice because of all the bad singers. So I'm doing real good. I'm gonna be whispering, Sam, this episode, kind of like a radio DJ who's presenting some smooth jazz from Giles and the Mayberries. That's not a real
Hey,
group.
Sam, do you want to know? You want to know my favorite smooth jazz track?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
'Cause I'm trapped in the closet while my kid's trying to sleep in, and my wife's watching The Voice. Adam Levine is my choice.
That was
He got
good.
the best team ever. He's gonna win forever. Blake Lively's
Clever.
cute,
Oh, I thought you were gonna.
clever,
Thought you were
but
gonna.
I'm trapped in the closet.
the.
And he comes to the closet, and then he's waking himself. And I don't know what the closet gonna get some good help.
No, that was really good. I'm impressed by that. The only version of that song I know is "Trapped in the Drive-Thru" by Weird Al, which we haven't mentioned in a while. Not the song, but the artist Weird Al. So
The artist Weird Al. You say that, but literally our last episode, there's an entire bit about Weird Al.
Was there really? Wait a sec. Oh no, I remember now. Yep. I think I just meant in my daily life. I don't mention him enough. I think tomorrow at work I'm just gonna be like, "Hey, have a great day. Listen to Weird Al."
I remember. So I do, of course, know the Weird Al version, backwards to forwards, trapped in the drive-in,
Drive-thru.
trapped in the drive-through. I remember, like, back when YouTube was just starting, it was just starting to be a thing. This music video and I thought it was a comedy sketch, but apparently R. Kelly deadly serious whenever he's talking about being with ladies and closets and midgets, apparently. And there's money in there or something.
Tom Cruise as well.
Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is my closet. Help me get right out this. But then Tom Cruise is in the closet, and Tom Cruise tries to respond, but none of his actual voice works, because they just didn't edit that part in, just like in the Mummy trailer.
They forgot to unclick the mute button from the audio, except for all the screams. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, I'm trapped in the closet.
So he's like talking to him. He's like talking to him. He's like talking to him normal, and then when he's yelling, he's like, "Nah, get down!" That all works. That's fine. But anything else, it's just like, oh, I guess Tom Cruise doesn't have a voice anymore. That's what happens. You know, you get 50, you lose your voice.
You lose your voice,
It's too sad.
and you make bad choices on films and movies. I love you, Tom Cruise.
Wait, Sam, what if that's what The Voice is about? So all of those artists, like, except for Miley, I don't think Miley knew what was going on.
Well, she's not on there
but,
anymore.
Like Blake Shelton, Adam Levine, they're gonna need voices eventually once they turn 50. So is that what The Voice is for? That they're just auditioning people to be their new voice?
Wait, so it's kind of like an Ursula from The Little Mermaid thing?
Yes, it's exactly like Ursula from The Little Mermaid. Sam,
Oh,
we cracked
man.
the code.
Okay, so that means at the end of the competition...
The host, what's the host name? I forget his name.
The
host, Carson Daly?
Carson Daly. Yep, Carson Daly.
Okay, Carson Daly. He's like 43, isn't he? He's like 48.
I was about to say,
he's, like
he's almost 50.
Two years away from needing a voice.
Oh man. So when he's handing microphones to the winner, like, here's your golden microphone, if they sing into that, that's the end game. Like, that's what they all want. And so they have this, I bet they have this collection of all of these voices that they have, and every day they just have to, like, I don't know, suck on that microphone a little, and then they get a new voice, and they could just they can choose a different one every day for the rest of their life.
Exactly.
This
like
is
that.
a conspiracy.
Well, I need to ask you, Sam, have you ever heard anyone from The Voice ever sing after The Voice?
Only one?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so, Sam. Maybe that's a recording. I don't know. But, like, no one from The Voice has ever recorded anything after that. They've never had an album. They've never had a hit song. No one from The Voice has ever been objectively good. at being a musician after The Voice. You know why? Because they don't have a voice anymore. They gave it up. They didn't know what they're signing. They're like, I just want to get my ticket. I want to go see if Miley's going to pick me on her team. Oh, please, Miley, pick me on her team. And then they go up, they sing for Miley, and then Miley just takes their voice. She's like, I'm going to keep this for when I'm 50.
I can't say this.
She's gone.
I can't say this enough. Miley is no longer on the show, which is wonderful because some of the comments she made in the last season where she was a judge were so nonsensical and self-contradictory.
Pretty whack, right?
That I was like, who let you? Why? Who do you think? And then she was gone, and I was able to breathe a sigh of relief. That
you're like, all of your rage was just building. You're like, finally, I don't have to do that anymore.
I can finish a sentence. Oh, finally. So now let's take this a level further. If they're stealing voices, are they also? Do they also have the ability to become mermaids, or to become no longer a mermaid, to become a human?
What if they're already mermaids? What if it's like a whole Hollywood conspiracy?
So all of Hollywood is mermaids.
Yeah, all of. I mean,
my gosh,
you don't have any proof otherwise.
I don't.
I mean, that's why they have to be in coastal cities, like L.A., Hollywood, and the Sunset Strip. Yeah, who was that? Huey Lewis and the News. Who are they? Singers. Yeah, they were only going to coastal cities because they knew they couldn't be away from water for too long, or else they were going to dehydrate themselves.
And when they're on tour, they have to have bathtubs of salt. Or I mean, like salt water. It's not just like pure salt. They would die, like any human or mermaid. But just like a bathtub full of water and salt, and that way they can soak in it. Like that movie with Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Apollo 13.
Apollo 13, just like in Apollo 13, Sam. Yeah, Huey Lewis and the News goes on tour, and they're like, okay, we'll play your event, we'll play your stadium, but we need to make sure you got the news there. And the news is like code for a giant tub full of salt water, and the thing is, like, they use that as code because they want to make sure that someone on the inside is already a mermaid, so they're down. And they know what's going on, or else they aren't going to play that event. Like, when was the last time you heard Huey Lewis and the News play anything? I mean, never, right?
Maybe
the radio. They
the
live
50s?
They live forever in recording. The 50s? Sam, Huey Lewis and the News, while featured in a film that went back to the 50s, aka Back to the Future, they are not a band from the 50s.
I don't. Okay, I won't lie. I don't know anything about Huey News and the Lewis. I really don't.
Well, Sam, Huey News and the Lewis is also not the band's name.
Huey Lewis. Is it the News or the Nudes? I can't tell if there's a D in there.
It's the News with a W. It's everyone knows the power of love. It's the power of love.
Can you sing it for me? Because I have no idea who they are.
Okay. Let me start out. It's instrumental mostly.
I'm gonna Google it while you're doing that. I think
Ghost. Sam.
I don't think.
Sam, do you know that all ghosts are mermaids? That's why they don't have feet.
So they're spectral mermaids? Is that what you're saying to me right now?
Yeah. Actually, the most we know about mermaid culture comes from Ghostbusters when they're like, there is no Greg, only Zod, or whatever his name is.
It's no... You mean Dana? There is no Dana, only Zool?
Only Zool, yeah, you're right. That's what it is. Ghostbusters, amazing movie, one of my favorites, so funny.
Ghostbusters.
So... We know that. We know that there's a keymaster and a gatekeeper.
Okay.
Like that's as much as we know about mermaid culture, because everything else is so secretive. It's sunken. It's beneath the waves.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go back to Huey Lewis and the News.
Yes.
I honestly thought. Okay,
Always.
So they're playing in Indianapolis on June 11th, so I might go check them out just to Just to say that I've
They won't be there.
But
they don't do the News at that stadium. They're not going to be there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to ruin your night.
That's what I wanted to talk about. So when they say that they need the news, if no one knows that they're talking about it, I mean, do they have to go up to each personnel in every city, in every like performance arts center, and be like, "Hey, we're Huey Lewis and the News, and when we come here to perform, we need the news." And if they just kind of look at them, do they move on to the person like right behind them, or do they go to like the stage crew, maybe the janitorial service, some box office ladies? I don't know. This is a deep conspiracy.
Well, Sam, that is a great question. This week in our read-through, we were going through the next chapters 16, 17, and 18.
One of the best segues I've ever heard.
You know, you gotta segue. I realized that we could be being listened to by those Hollywood elitist mermaids right now.
Mer
that they
people.
could be trying to take. Mer people. You're right. They're not all maidens.
That's
Hashtag
true.
not every maiden. Not all maidens.
Not all maidens. Okay,
I figure we should probably get into the book, because Huey Lewis in the News, you know, we could start another podcast about that subject that I could talk about, maybe another 30 seconds more. But these chapters, kind of the interstitial, we're dealing with the aftermath of Vin getting just the bell rung, right?
So,
just that bell rung.
One might say thrashed, invariably thrashed.
Yeah, she got pretty messed up, and you know, Kelsey is dealing with it too. She's healing up so she can go back to doing some of her espionage business.
Mm-hmm. At those fancy balls.
Yeah, but they realize more and more the book that they recovered is actually linked to the Lord Ruler pre-Ascension. So before the Lord Ruler became the Lord Ruler, he was just a dude who had to fight off the deepness. And this book, apparently, all of the headers and all the chapters we've read before have excerpts from this book. But basically, all of it was stamped out through the Lord Ruler's unity movement, which Sazed uses as he refers to. In this, we actually, for the first time, you know, Sazed and Vin actually have a real good sit down, and she gets to ask him like, "Hey, how'd you save me when there was an Inquisitor there? How'd you like stop him, and how'd you do all that stuff?" He doesn't really answer it, but he does let her know that he does have magical powers.
Yeah, and I know I bring this up every time we talk, but having forgotten several aspects of the book, I've been wondering when it's going to be brought up that he's a Feruchemist, because rethinking about it before rereading it, I was like, oh yeah, it's common knowledge, everyone knows he's a Feruchemist, blah 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 blah. But the fact that he doesn't tell her makes me wonder why. I don't think he's a person to be, you know, I want to say ambiguous and just be like, you have to guess. I'm fancy, but you don't know why. Earrings. But it makes
exactly. She kind of takes for granted like his quote unquote subservience, his help, his aid.
Yeah.
And she doesn't really know what drives him, why he's doing that, other than he's a Terra steward. Of course that's what he's gonna do. And
this is actually the chapter. Was it? I think it was chapter 60. Whatever it was. We liked, or we read in these chapters that I always pronounce her name wrong. Mar, Kelsey's wife. Mare,
whatever. Yeah.
Whatever.
Marais.
Marais. We learned that she was actually the one, or we believe that she was actually the one who betrayed Kelsier when they first tried to do the stint on the Lord Ruler's palace.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because, you know, a wife.
We have a couple different things. Like, the Lord Ruler was very, you know, he's very straightforward. He doesn't seem like he's really into breaking people, or at least, like, the more we learn about it, he's just kind of straightforward at this time in his life. But he basically, he comes in and he thanks Mare, and he sends them both to the pits of Hath-Sin. And Kelsier, you know, basically, he lives with the knowledge that, yeah, she pretty much betrayed him. And he continues to have feelings for her and love her. I wrote down the line that he said to Vin, saying, "Do you stop loving someone because they betray you?"
Yeah.
Which lets us know that not only is Vin a victim of abuse, Kelsier is too. He will never think of a woman the same way that he does Mare, and Mare betrayed him in the most horrific way possible by basically bringing back down him, everything that he had gained, their relationship, everything else. I'm sure that there was leverage. I'm sure that there were, promises made, or maybe it was something different. But at least for Kelsier, as far as he knows, this is the woman that basically took away his entire life that he worked forever for, and threw him in the literal worst place in the entire world, literal hell,
Yeah.
the pits of Hathin, where he has to crawl through. And I don't know if we know exactly what he was doing there, but he was mining geodes of Atium, and that's where he got all the scars on his arms. That's where he was completely destroyed inside and out.
Yeah, and there are 2 points within him telling the story, and even when Vin was talking to Sazed, where Sazed says Kelsier has deeper scars than the ones that are on his arms. We learn about the betrayal, but then we learn how Kelsier snapped, or how his allomantic powers were born. He watched as his wife betrayed him. He was thrown into the pits, but then weeks later, she was brought to the pits, and then she was killed by the guards at the pit. She was beaten to death. So he watched his wife betray him thrown in prison, her thrown in prison with him. I totally forgot to write this down. But didn't she apologize?
I don't know if we've gotten to that part yet. Later, we're gonna visit some more of these memories with Kelsier. As far as we are now, is he snaps. So we learn about snapping for the first time. Basically, you go through something incredibly traumatic as a person, or physically traumatic, emotional, and that can awaken your allomantic powers. So later we learn how Marsh snapped. We never really learn how Vin snapped, but it must have been from a very, very young age, which is why she basically grew up with allomancy her entire life without even knowing it.
Yeah, she was...
Just her very traumatic past, being beaten by her brother, which she almost certainly was, and somewhere along the line she basically just awakened to her allomantic powers and was able to go through it. Kelsier didn't have that opportunity. He lived his entire life as just a regular man, as a thief, a padfoot, as someone faking and grifting his way into places where he wasn't supposed to be and stealing from people. So him at like 30-something, snapping when his wife is killed in front of him, that just shows how, in comparison to the rest of his life, how horrible that moment was for him. That nothing else had brought up out allomantic powers for him until that moment, and how deeply it must have affected and changed him. In some of Brandon Sanderson's books, there's an undercurrent of those that get magical abilities or powers are those that tend to be more like emotionally damaged in some way. It definitely happens during my archive. Snapping is something that happens in Mistborn, and it's almost like you have to pass through the fires of hell so that you're tempered like metal to become something better, to become something that's actually useful and can use and be used to your full extent.
Which is comparative to a lot of superheroes who don't become superheroes until something traumatic happens. Whether it's Batman, Superman is not that, because...
Well, a good one is Spider-Man. Like, Spider-Man gets his powers in not a very traumatic way. Like, I'm sure physically it was traumatic, because, getting radioactive juice all inside your insides is probably not good. But he didn't become a superhero until Uncle Ben died, was killed, and he had the power to stop it, but he didn't, because he was seeking his own self-interest. And that's reoccurring for Spider-Man through his entire the run of his character. But that is what pushes him to be good, to be different, to be better. And we see that a lot in like supervillains. Usually they'll have something traumatic that has happened to them that makes them make the decisions that they do.
Like a girl rejects them at prom, and now they need to destroy the world because they didn't get their dance to Huey Lewis, and the news is beautiful. Trouble in Paradise.
Got some trouble in paradise. That's how that song goes.
Yep. What else, Ben? Ben and I were talking about this before. These chapters were kind of a hit and miss. Now, I don't say that meaning like, oh, this one's good, this one's bad, this one's good. It was a lot of exposition. Nothing exciting.
It's all necessary stuff, but yeah, it's like mid-season breaks and stuff like that
Absolutely.
we're going through.
Absolutely.
We're getting some information. We do go to a dance later that goes much better for Vin, and we get to see Vin really developing as a spy, as a grifter in this dance where she can go around and she actually does dance with some boys, and she makes up a story about Ellen so that more boys will be and women even will be more apt to speak with her, thinking that Ellen is like a protector for her brother rather than
Oh,
someone
excuse
that
me.
they should be, romantically concerned about. And we end up meeting Sean Ariel, who she's
Ugh.
also a mermaid,
Ugh.
and she so just like any dance you're gonna have cliques. Sean Ariel is like the mean girls of the book. She's like she shows up and they're like, yeah, on Tuesdays we wear pink, and also like don't ever touch Ellen or look at him again, and I'm way more important than you and you should know that.
You can refer to me as Lady Mermaid of the Highest Mermaids. I mean, Lady Shawn. She I think that's actually one of the best descriptions of her, is that she's a mean girl. And we see there's a glimpse of her using, or at least Vin believes using, allomantic powers on her to soothe her, to tell her what she and Ellen were talking about. And it only
Yeah.
adds to the point that she's a bully. She's in the higher house. She yeah.
She's literally gonna emotionally manipulate you to get what she wants from you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting
So
that in the beginning of the ball chapter, Vin talks about how curvaceous the women are in at these events, and the women of the high of these upper class. And then when she sits down with Sean, Sean's like, "Ugh, you're barely nothing. Your dress is so saggy." And it's such a little detail, but to be brought to for him to be like, for Brandon Sanderson to write how all these women are curvaceous, and then she doesn't like dwell on it, and then for Sean to be like, "You're a twig. You're like Callista Flockhart in a garbage bag. Who do you think you are?"
yeah, it's she's like the pure essence of privilege.
Absolutely.
Like we learn more about. Of course, she's a noble woman. She's had everything she ever wanted. She did have to snap sometime in her life, which we learn about. Like the nobility kind of have a system of making their children
Yeah.
snap. That probably is the worst thing she's ever gone through, because she
Yeah.
was using allomancy. But yeah, she is the embodiment of privilege. Ellen is hers. Vin is hers. She has a terrorist servant who she's all but beaten into submission, and he's doing anything that she requests. So yeah, she's kind of like the most villainous character I think that we've met. Other than Cayman.
Right. Who's dead?
She's the one that Cayman is, yeah, he's a dead boy.
He's very dead.
Um, but like she's kind of like the worst bits of the nobility. And we it's punctuated at the end of the chapter where we see that young boy getting like carried off and just killed right there. Like,
Oh my
and she even
gosh.
said
Yeah.
worse than an animal. Like they would have treated an animal with more respect, or they would have done it in some place else. Nope, they just killed this boy who actually worked for the family, just because he wanted to try to ask for some money. Absolutely horrible stuff, and it's right outside of where she is. That's the noble life by and large. That is what Kelsier sees the nobility as, and what he's fighting against.
And I'm glad that Sean's character does exist, because you look at Elland and he's fascinated with the ska, and he's fascinated with books about political powers, and he obviously has these. I don't know if extremist is the right word, but he has different views than a lot of the people. He's kind of like that character. Shoot, in Fiddler on the Roof, he's the teacher, or the student, that the political student that comes into town. That's like,
Oh
Peppy, I'll
yeah,
teach your kids.
that marries the second daughter.
Yeah, and he's a little like that in that he's an activist, and I would consider Ellen an activist. I don't know how active he is in that's
he definitely
in that
enjoys
world.
those discussions,
Absolutely.
but I don't think he's definitely not been pushed to the point of any action
Right.
right now. But he's intrigued. And I take it back to my little headcanon that years ago there was a raid against his family and he almost died, and he didn't snap at the time.
Absolutely.
And doesn't
Yeah.
have any elementic powers. And that raid could have been a Ska raid. The Ska could have said, like, your family's the worst, or it's destroyed my entire life, it's destroyed the lives of everyone here, and he never even thought about that. And so that, maybe that guilt, that self-doubt, also the kind of the hatred for his father and the way his father's run his life, kind of pushes him to find a different path.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's the path of finding a case for helping and defending, or at least looking into why they try to separate the Ska and the noblemen in different castes. Why is that even a thing?
Yeah, and I bring up his uniqueness as a nobleman because in the beginning we see the Lord. Oh shoot, what is his name?
Lord Trestine, I think.
Yeah, Lord Trusting, and he's just garbage. We know that he rapes and murders his Ska women, and then we see Cayman, who is not a nobleman, but he does embody the bad parts of the nobleman, and then we meet Elend, and for a brief moment you kind of forget about the bad guys. You forget about those noblemen who do these bad things because you're like, Elend is he's such a treasure. He's just a pretty boy. He loves his books. He loves being flirtatious in a subtle and often mocking way. And then you meet Sean, you're like, oh wait, noblemen are kind of garbage, and they're just not good. They're not good at all.
Yeah. And going back to elementic metals, they'll just push and push on you, if you let them. And it's almost like the noblemen think that they're the body, or the Lord Ruler thinks that the nobleman and himself are the body, and the Ska are just the metals. They're there to be used up, to be burnt away,
Whoa.
so that they can reach something greater.
Whoa.
And not even greater. Like it talks about in that book that the Lord Ruler hasn't done like anything with his rule.
Yeah.
The world is still covered in ash. Luthadel is a fine city. There are other fine cities around, but he hasn't created anything. He hasn't progressed the world to a new station. Everything's just been kind of halted back. Things haven't changed. Science hasn't advanced. Like architecture's the same. It's all because the Lord Ruler enjoys living in that past. He doesn't care about moving forward. He doesn't care about the welfare of his subjects, Ska or noblemen. Really, I think that he just cares that the noblemen live better than the Ska, but he doesn't. I don't think he really relates to people.
Absolutely not. And one cannot argue that he hasn't had enough time or enough resources. He has had 1,000 years, and he has had every single resource imaginable at his fingertips to do it. And of course, later, even in this book, we realize, and in the sequel and the threequel, we realize why certain things have stayed the way they are. We're not going to talk about that right now because we don't want to spoil anything for you if you're reading this for the first time.
Yeah.
But
we're not trying to spoil the squeakquel, guys.
Yeah, the squeak. Oh gosh. There's all these chapters, albeit I don't want to say boring, but exposition heavy, also open up the window or open up the door to certain trains of thought, and as well as ideas that get your wheels turning, get your mind wheels turning, trying to figure out who the Lord Ruler is, why is Elend the way he is, why is everything the way it still is. And so although the chapters didn't have a lot of action, there was some good thinking bits, some good foods for thoughts.
And I think one of the most interesting things, and one of the things that Brandon is constantly hammering in these books, is that undercurrent of abuse on all sides.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
Elend suffers abuse from his father, which is why he doesn't get along with him. Kelsier suffered abuse at the hands of his wife, and also the Lord Ruler and his regime. And Vin, specifically suffering in these chapters the abuse of Sean Ariel. And the thing is, she could have, if she was the same girl that she had been, back a couple months back, or back it was like maybe 10 months back, she might have just curled up in a ball and wanted to leave and just hopped away from there and never come back. But she's stronger now. She stood up for herself. She is not intimidated by Sean, uh, even though she knows that she's an Allomancer and that she has a lot more power than Vin.
I
So yeah.
I like these. I did like these chapters, and I do very much
Mm-hmm.
enjoy the banter between Elend and Vin. It's always interesting to see what kind of society they live in, especially with all
Mm-hmm.
these different engagement or all the different balls they have and all these different engagements.
Right.
But I'm ready to get back into some action. You know, I'm ready to get back. Where's the stabbing and the
Mm-hmm.
fighting and the pewter? Where's that guy who doesn't have sleeves? Ham. Where's Ham? I'm excited to get
Sam,
into some more
literally
stuff.
in the next episode, we're gonna meet some sleeveless boy named Ham again.
Oh,
And
excellent.
he's gonna flex those muscles all over your eye holes while you read it.
Good. This is
But yeah,
good.
I think that's going to cover our review of these chapters.
Yeah.
I of course loving the book for the fourth or fifth time through, or whatever it is now. Yeah, we're actually going to end this episode with a new activity we called IMD Brandon. So we are going to. I have a random movie generator here. I'm going to generate a random movie, and then both Sam and I are going to pull up the filmmakers. List of movies on IMDb and go through and figure out maybe, why isn't he making some Brandon Sanderson movies? I think that this will show, these filmmakers a good opportunity in their future to maybe write and direct some movies based around Brandon's books, because everything's looking up as far as Brandon's concerned.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm gonna generate a random movie, and then we'll go ahead and we'll look through this filmmaker's catalog, and we'll be like, okay, well, we can improve this record if you just threw in some more Mistborn or something. All right.
All right.
All right. The movie is Transformers: Age of Extinction.
No, please, no.
Transformers: Age of Extinction, and you and I both know who made this movie.
Well, hold
Mr.
on.
Michael Bay.
I know he
Michael
made it,
Bay.
but who was the director? Let's look at the director.
He was the director.
No, that's so bad.
He directed Age of Extinction. He directed Last Night. Michael Bay, very prolific, and if you listen to Michael Bay, hey, you made some good looking things sometimes.
Well, let's find one of those
You know,
good-looking things.
okay, let's start with his earliest actions. You start small. You want to get you want to cut your teeth, get your chops on some easier stuff. How about this? Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell. Yeah?
Well,
He making some Meatloaf music videos. Yep, good job. So maybe instead of Meatloaf videos or Huey and Lewis in the News, you can
Thank
make, no, Sam, we already solved this. The Crustaceans, they
Oh,
have made an
gosh.
album all about infiltrating the Lord Ruler's palace.
That's right.
And all Michael Bay needed to do was make some really cool music. Actually, if the Crustaceans, made that album, Michael Bay is like my first choice for directors for that. Michael Bay would make some amazing looking music videos because his movies are practically just music videos, but longer.
and he has a history of, let's see, Vanilla Ice, excellent.
Yeah.
Play That Funky Music, great.
Uh-huh.
Divinals,
Very, very
I
good.
Touch Myself, that's awesome. Shadows, he has an extensive resume of music videos. So he could do The Crustaceans, that's great. But, moving on,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Michael Bay, you made Armageddon. Why don't you just make the sequel to Armageddon, Mistborn: The Final Empire? Just the world's in Armageddon, and you're filming people that have magic metal powers. I know that you love metal because there's miners in that movie. You love those miners. There's some weird reason why you want to put miners on an asteroid, and you did it. You did it. Just one of those miners stuck in the pits of Hassin, but then he gets metal powers. That's Kelsier.
yeah.
There you go.
You know-
the movie's halfway made.
Absolutely. And, speaking of sleeveless boys, Michael Bay, you made Pain and Gain. Pain and Gain.
Pain and Gain.
Do you know who...
That should be called Ham and Vin.
Yeah,
where they
that's-
just get buff.
I was
just
literally
them
about
training.
to say that. And you know what? Vin, and you keep those two characters. You keep Dwayne The Rock Johnson as Ham. You put a wig on Mark Wahlberg. That's Vin. That is
She's
the
Vin.
exact description
Yep.
of Vin in every book you've written about Vin.
In every book that's written about Vince, particularly Mistborn, people don't read closely enough, but it's actually, he says, imagine Mark Wahlberg but in a dark wig.
Yep.
And so,
Absolutely it.
yeah, and so, Ham and Vin, there's an entire year here where Vin is going to have to be training. Ham and Vin, maybe they go off to a separate city. They get away from Felice. They get away from, the intrigue for a couple seconds. And they just go and they bro out. They lift some weights, and then they steal money from Stanley Tucci? Is that what happens?
No, it's
Maya Angelou?
Tony Shalhoub.
Shuli Talub? Yeah, they just steal
Harold
some
Ramis.
money from Shuni Talub. Just with their muscles, they flex, and he's just like, "Whoa, yeah, I'll give the money for that."
So in this situation, they flex their muscles and they get that good atium from the Lord Ruler. They bro out in Felice. They do some weightlifting. They come back and then they just flex all of the obligators and the inquisitors, and they just explode. I think that happens in Pain and Gain. And then they get the atium. See, Michael Bay, all these movies that were mediocre, you could have made them so much better if Mark Wahlberg had a wig and there was fantasy magics. Michael Bay.
And so I think the last one I want to touch on. You spent 4 movies, 5. Wow, there are 5 Transformers movies in about a month, Sam. Five Transformers movies,
What?
Michael Bay.
Oh my gosh.
5 Transformers movies. I know you love it. You love Transformers movies because they're so heavy metal. They're so edgy and hardcore. You love
Real
it.
steel.
They're real steel. I think muscles are strong, but look at these metal boys. Strong boys. That's what he says whenever he looks at them. And so, yeah, we can bring some more strong people into here. We can bring metal into here. But we need you to bring some of those explosions over to our side. You could make the sequel to Mistborn, Miss Dead, where all of the Mistborn die. They're just wandering around. They're like, oh man, my life's so heavy metal. I'm so buff. I don't know what to do. And they're just like, they do one final heist against Tony Shalhoub and they die. That's what you could do. More people would want to see that than another Transformers movie, bro.
And you're so into heavy metal, just keep Meatloaf in his music, but make this new story. You're good. This is a at least $14 winning movie right here. Okay?
Yeah.
Michael Bay, this is a free idea. Contact us. We are at Brandon Sanderfans on Twitter. You can also look us up on Facebook. We have
So
we're on Facebook.
And one last thing, Michael. I know that one of your favorite movies is West Side Story. Literally one of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh, me too.
Legitimately,
Me
no
too.
jokes.
Yep.
Don't ever try to make that ever, Michael Bay. Don't ever try to make West Side Story.
Wait, is he thinking about remaking it?
Please. Oh, he's obsessed with it. Like his house, he watches it like 3 times a year. His house is filled with like memorabilia. He's made like 8 scripts for it.
What?
He's obsessed with that movie.
Oh.
A lot of filmmakers in Hollywood are obsessed with West Side Story, rightfully, because it's like lightning in a bottle. That movie's so good.
Oh,
but,
it's amazing, but I don't think Michael Bay should be the one. Michael, don't. Please.
Michael, if you want to make a musical, just Kelsier and Mare. That's a love story.
That's a great love story.
And it's tragic. It's tragic.
Okay, how about this? Michael Bay, you make Mistborn, okay? But when it gets to that part where they're talking about the tragic past, turn that into a musical for like 10 minutes. That way you can get that funk out, and you can really use that music video directing them chops that you got. Make a musical just for 10 minutes, and then go back to the good stuff. I mean, not that would be good stuff, but you know.
Yeah. Let me pitch this little scene to you.
Okay.
It's from this chapter,
All right.
Michael Bay. So, Vin asks Kelsier, but didn't she betray you? And Kelsier just like looks at her in the eyes. Some soft piano music starts. Ching, 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 ching. I don't know. I don't know if she did. I just don't know. She soothed my soul, not with allomancy, because she didn't have that power.
And neither
She
did
took...
I.
And neither did I at the time. I totally got it now. Now you're sad, because I just made you so...
See, now I love
See?
this.
That's just a couple lines. Kelsier could sing every line could be a song. He would definitely be better at recruiting if he did that.
Hold on, wait a second. That song was Claude Michel Schoenberg, who wrote Les Mis, in the room just now. You should hire Ben to write your songs. That's what I'm saying, Michael Bay. Write a musical, hire Ben. You know what, Ben? I want to cast you as Kelsier. Can you do another Australian accent for me? Don't. I was kidding. Don't do that.
Speaking of, do you think that if they make a movie of this, that people should have accents, or they should just be like kind of modern voices? I feel like the voice. What?
I kid you not. Earlier, when I was reading the last couple pages of chapter 18, I was like, I was reading with Vin. I was reading Vin's part, and I was like, why did she have a British accent in my head? And then I made her have an American accent, and I didn't like it. But I also don't like the British, and so I don't know what they would have to do. Maybe like a faux French accent. Everyone's like, hello, my name is Kelsey, and we are going to throw down the final empire. But even then, I hated that, and I wanted to kill myself just now. That was so bad.
Maybe we need to find something in between. We just need to hire a bunch of British actors that do American voices. And just like, we just got a bunch of Benedict Cumberbatch and Doctor Strange running around. Hello, I am Kelsier. I love to have hot dogs and French fries.
Did you say hot dogs?
Yeah, because that's an American accent, Sam. I don't know if you know that, but that's how Americans sound.
I didn't.
They talk about hot dogs and French fries.
Well, that means, okay, so we got Benedict Cumberbatch. We have some James Cromwells as Sazed. This is good.
Yep.
But, that's more casting. Michael Bay, we'll leave that up to you. You can take our suggestion. Don't do West Side Story.
We'll leave that up to you.
Pick up Mistborn and just read it. Just love on it. Tell us what you think. Tweet at us.
Yeah.
That was good.
It'll be a great time. We'll even visit you on set when you're lonely. If you fly us out and pay for our lodging, we'll do that. We'll sacrifice.
Oh, I will
do that for
absolutely. You. I will take several days off work, as long as you're paying. That's how nice we are. That's how much we care.
I will call whatever executive you want me to and say that you have to make another Transformers movie if you make a Mistborn movie. I don't want to. I don't want to do that. I don't think you want that either, but I will do it. I will get down on my hands and knees, and I will beg for this.
So, Michael Bay, please take our advice. And as for you listeners, tell us, tweet at us. Let us know what you guys think. Do you like the show? Do you feel like it's missing something? Do you wish we would talk more about Huey Lewis and the news? Do you wish that we wouldn't talk more about Huey Lewis and the news? Tell us. Just let us know.
Do you feel like I cut off the Huey Lewis and the news talk too soon? After about 8 minutes of it. Did you think that was a little too soon for me to cut that off?
Let us know. Tweet at us. We're at Brandon Sanderfans on Twitter. Do we have a Facebook page?
At B Sanderfans.
B. I'm so sorry.
The letter B in Sanderfans.
Letter B Sanderfans. We have a Facebook page. We or at least we post every time the episode comes up. We post it. You can also talk to us personally. I am at Samuel_Loose on Twitter. And Ben, what are you?
I am at Ben Parrish. BENNPARRISH.
Yeah.
The name's so nice, they consonanted it twice.
Oh, man, now I need to have a cool. At Samuel_Loose. The name so moose, it ends with loose.
The name's so common, I need an underscore to make it happen.
Touche. That was good. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for Brandon Sanderfans this week. Tweet at us at BSanderfans. We love you so much. And as always, read a book.
Read a book, Michael Bay.